And I'm the General Manager for GE Digital in Europe. And I'm delighted to be with you here at what is a very pivotal moment for digital industry. I'm also super happy that Mark is here with us today. Delighted to introduce to you Mark Hutchinson. Mark is the CEO and President of GE in Europe. And together, we are helping drive digital industry. Now, Mark's been with GE for 22 years, and he's driven loads of change across industry with GE. He's been pivotal in driving growth as the CEO of China. Last year, he orchestrated the largest industrial acquisition in GE's 124-year history, the acquisition of Alstom. So it's really fitting that he's here today to speak to us about GE's next phase of transformation. Indeed, as we've been already talking about, the phase that we all call Industry 4.0, the next phase of the Industrial Revolution, and it's all being driven by digital. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Mark Hutchinson.
Good morning. Great to be here. Great to have Deborah part of the GE team, actually. So Deborah was with Google for 8 years. So why have thousands of people like Deborah come to an old industrial company like GE? And the reason is they're helping us with the transformation from changing us from an industrial company to a digital industrial company. And we bet the company on this. So I'm going to talk about today our transformation. But really, I guess the question today is for the business people in the audience. And we started our transformation by being paranoid about what digital was going to do to us. So I know you just had breakfast, but the question is, are you paranoid about who in the digital world is going to eat your lunch? Are you paranoid? Because if you're not, you should be. Because it's going to change every business and every industry. But the good news is that as much as this is a threat, this is always a big opportunity as well. So I'm going to talk about that today, and I think having events like this today, hopefully you go away with some confidence in what you can do to embrace the change and make a difference. Okay, so what do I actually mean? Hold on. Oh, we lost it all. Okay, got it. So in the good old world, we just sold products to customers, and it actually was the customer who aggregated all our products to actually perform an event or something they can do. And what's happened over the last 5 years, really data has become free, sensors have become free, almost complexity has become free. So actually, our customers now can use data to actually make your products actually much more efficient, which is just awesome news for a customer. So call it what you want, IoT, industrial internet, Internet of Things, Industry 4.0. It's all about productivity. It's all about productivity. And what we're finding is that customers are starting to buy differently, right? So I'll give you an example. We make CT scanners, and a hospital in the United States have been buying us for years and years, just the product. Recently they came to us, and what they wanted was, they wanted to buy an outcome. They wanted to buy patient throughput. So we obviously had to really understand much more the data, what that customer wanted, to actually be able to kind of meet that outcome. It was almost irrelevant how many products they had behind the scene. Okay? So really the question is then, now as digital comes into our space, okay, who's going to own that piece of it? All right? Who's going to own the digital space between you and your customer? And if you don't, our view is you get disintermediated. You become a commodity. good news is that we think you're actually the best place to do that, to own that space. Because you're in business for a reason today. You're good at what you do. You're good at what you do. You know your space better than anybody, right? So you're in the best position to actually understand the digital space and make sure that you don't get disintermediated or Ubered between you and your customer. So the question is really, who owns the digital space, and is it something that you can do? There's no reason that you should leave that for an Amazon or a Google to do. And our belief is that as an industrial company, we can actually do this space. So I think a good place to start thinking about this is actually through the eyes of the customer, really, because it always starts with the customer. Now we make wind turbines in a renewables business, so I want to use the example of our customer, but actually this can apply to any customer. So the first thing really is to look through is through the operator. So at the operational level, the difference this is going to make to the operator, the people who actually manage the machines. The more data that kind of comes on board that the operator can actually see and analyze, they can actually start to compare the machine they're working on with all the data that has been generated in the past on that same machine. They can start to use the data to actually compare to fleets of the same machines. They can start to use the data to compare with any machine of the same type. And actually then they're able to do a number of things. They can actually start to really kind of understand when the machine's going to break down. Okay? They can really start to really understand when there's going to be the next maintenance. So you kind of move from an event where you actually are alerted to a mistake happening on the machine. Any machine ever goes down, you lose money, to where you start thinking about predictive maintenance. And you want to get to a space as an operator where you have zero unplanned downtime. So that's kind of the nirvana, right? And you can do that using data. You can use that using digital. The second area is fleet. For a customer, being able to manage their fleet operationally and figuring out when the machines come on and when they go off is really, really important. Again, you get massive productivity out of this. And the third level is also from the ecosystem. Okay? The ecosystem that the customer kind of operates in is really important to understand how you make money. In the wind business, for example, in certain countries, the price of power changes by the minute. So knowing when the power comes on board to actually maximize your revenue is really, really important. So massive productivity across really the three levels as we look at the impact of digital for the customer. Now I hear a lot of people talk about the hype of the IoT and the industrial internet. It's just not true, okay? It's just not true. Because in this example, we found that using kind of asset performance management for the operators for a wind farm, optimizing the fleet of assets and optimizing the business performance of the company, we can get 8% productivity just in the wind farm, right? Huge. That is just huge. So we believe that really the winning formula going forward is really making sure you kind of understand the data science behind what you do. You understand the physics as well, which is what you're good at, okay? And then applied engineering. And this is 3D printing, composite materials and the like, which again is another massive revolution that's going to happen in the industrial world. And this how you use these with data from your customer, with statistics, analytics, the physics, to actually produce better outcomes for your customer. So we believe this is the winning formula of the future. It's going to get stuck now. Okay, next one. Oops, I go back. Okay, so why does it matter? Well, we kind of live in an environment which is slow growth, right? You know, it's a volatile world, populism is rife, and business tends to get blamed a bit. So it means that really, as businesses, we all have to invest to win. And you've almost got to create your own growth. You've got to create your own growth. And we have to learn, as businesses, to move much, much quicker. And the one thing we have to do is accelerate productivity. If you look at productivity the last few years, I mean, over the last few decades, industrial productivity has been quite strong, but it's really been miserable the last few years. But you look at the consumer side, they've had massive growth since the introduction of digital. The same thing's going to happen to industry. Okay? So, let me just talk about our own transformation for a moment, right? So, GE is a company. I don't know whether you know much about it, but we're a big global company. We have 300,000 employees. We're in 170 countries. And many of the things that we do, you probably take for granted. So, for example, a lot of you came here on an aeroplane probably. Next time you get in an aeroplane, look out of the wing, and the engine on the side of the wing is a miracle of physics. It allows you to take off with 200 of your closest friends for the day, take you 30,000 feet in the air, thousands of miles, and land you safely every time. Next time you turn on a light switch, okay, think about where that energy comes from. The energy comes from machines, and about a third of the planet's power comes from GE machines. So we are technology, we're an infrastructure company. Okay, 124 years old, founded by Thomas Edison. So about 5 years ago, though, our CEO, Jeff Immelt, started to spend a lot of time in Silicon Valley because he was kind of getting paranoid about what was going to happen to our businesses once the digital world comes to industry. And he came to the conclusion that, look, these guys in Silicon Valley, they know a lot about digital, but really they don't know anything about an aircraft engine. Well, they don't know anything about a advanced heavy-duty gas turbine, whereas we do. So he started to ask the questions, well, why do I want to let them kind of own our space? Why don't we do it? Right? So what we did was start to hire a lot of people like Deborah into the company, and guess what? They found what we did as being pretty cool. Okay, and when we actually try to explain that actually what we want to do is take it to the next level to the digital world, they thought that was even cooler. So really what we've become, as the New York Times talked about this, is really the 124-year-old software startup. But this is very exciting. This is transformational. We've bet a 124-year-old company on going digital. We're all in, okay, which is something you have to be. So how do we do this? So the first thing we did was actually do it for ourselves, right? I mean, we're a big company, 500 factories around the world, 170 locations. So we tried to say, well, how are we going to make what we do better? How are we going to make our manufacturing more brilliant? How are we going to make our new product introduction faster? How are we going to put a digital thread through everything that we do? So this is where we started. And then we realized, obviously, from the customer's perspective, this is just huge. The productivity that they can get out of going digital is huge, and we can really, really help them. So we really started to work with customers and figure out, well, it's important that we really kind of understand what their needs are and where the digital world is going to take them. And really the third stage is being, and this happened about a couple of years ago, we kind of realized, like, you can't do this by yourself. You've really got to kind of embrace the ecosystem, and it's all about how we do this together as the ecosystem. So we created a platform called Predictive. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, and we offered it to the world. We offered it to industry, and we basically said it's an open system. Come and use it, okay? Because we're going to have to do this together and partner up. So that's really the way that we've evolved over the last couple of years as part of our transformation, okay? This is really how we view the world, all right, of IoT. And you'll hear a lot over the next few days about automation. Automation's important, but it's not everything, okay? You'll hear a lot about cloud platforms. Cloud platforms are important, but it's not everything. You'll hear things about ERP and systems. Again, same thing, and the same thing on analytics as well and software. So what we found was that this is what we needed as a company, but there was nothing available. So that's why we built Predix. This is why we built Predix. So Predix is an open operating system from edge to cloud, at scale, developed just for the industrial internet, and it's something we use ourselves. So we focus very much on certain areas like asset performance management. We focus on certain areas like services, manufacturing, but really it means it's open for anybody to use to write industrial applications on. Okay? Probably the biggest killer app that we found and developed is the digital twin. Okay, what's a digital twin? Well, using analytics, using sensors, using connectivity, we found that actually you can make an exact digital replica of every machine, any machine, any machine. Okay, and then the insight you get from that machine is constant. So you can get continual feeds off a machine, and we used to talk in the past about fleets of machines. Now we can talk about individual machines having their own personality. So this is just huge. I want to give you some examples actually, because you can look at this at a number of different levels. So the first level I want to look at is really on the digital side. So it's on the machine side. So we make aircraft engines, right? They come off the production line, relatively the same, but they fly differently, right? Different operators use those machines differently in different environments, right? So an engine operating in China in that kind of pollution compared to someone, an engine operating in the desert is going to have a different personality. It's going to develop very differently over time. And so by taking data, constant data, and a flight from here to New York throws off about 1 terabyte of data, by the way, using that data to actually make the machine more efficient and understand when it really requires maintenance is just massive. So, as an example, you tend to maintain engines at the lowest common denominator because you don't want these things to fall out of the sky, right? Well, actually, when you start to understand the individual asset, the personality of the asset, then we found actually you can actually tailor a maintenance program to each individual engine. And the outcome for the customer is huge from a productivity perspective. So from the asset level, from the machine level, it's very important. Another example, we do locomotives, right? You think locomotives, they're kind of old, they're big, they're dirty, they're big hunks of metal, right? No. The locomotive now is a mobile data center. There's something like 300 sensors now on each one of these engines. And they throw off a ton of data so you can understand things like heat, wear and tear, environmental emissions. You can actually even kind of inspect the track as you go along. Right? So massive. Okay, in the industry, they talk about the metric the industry uses something called velocity. It's the average miles per hour that a fleet travels in the day. And in the United States, it's only 21 miles an hour. We've found using digital, we can increase that by 2 miles an hour. Doesn't sound much. That is hundreds of millions of dollars that go straight to the bottom line for operators. Massive. Third example is actually kind of looking at almost an ecosystem, right? So we also do combined cycle power plants. These things are very complicated. They're big, they're complicated, they require a lot of input from where you bring the fuel in, when you burn, how you burn. You can create a digital twin of an ecosystem. And so we found for a combined cycle power plant, a digital twin actually can increase productivity, output by something like 2%. Downtime can come down by 5%, and we can decrease maintenance costs by 25%. So massive, massive. So digital twin, we found, and you can do this for any machine, okay? Also, it's not just about us using what we've created as well. As I said, we've opened it to the world, and some companies are now starting to use it for their own use. So Pitney Bowes is a good example. Not a traditional customer of ours. They make mailing machines. Okay, about 150 pieces of mail pass through Pitney Bowes machines in the United States alone every day. They're using it to make their machines more efficient. Okay, and they've found by using Predicts and writing their own applications on the top of the platform, they can get 10% productivity out of what they do, which is just huge. Just huge. Again, it's an open system. It's open to any industry to come in and use, and we've specifically made it for industry to use, so it has scale. Okay, and we've developed a lot of applications around what we do, which is manufacture things, technology, and that's you would find useful, I think, to other industries. So let me just talk about a little bit about the transformation that we've been through as a company. The first thing we kind of realized was, we have 300,000 people. How do you train them, right? When Jack Welch was CEO, he brought Six Sigma to the company, and he took 5 years to train us all. And we realized you just can't do that. We just don't have the time. This is going to happen too quickly. So what we decided to do was say, look, we're going to bring the people in from the outside. And that was big. That was big. And we told everyone else, look, you're just going to have to catch up, including me. Okay? You're just going to have to catch up because this is too fast, this is too important for the company. So some of the things we learned along the way actually, were quite important. I'd say, look, a slide I saw earlier actually from the first presenter was that 88% of companies don't know what to do. I think that's right. In fact, I think it's probably, I would say that's too low. I talk to a lot of companies. A lot of companies don't know what to do. They don't know what to do here. And they think by just putting a digital officer in place, that solves it all. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't, because it's all about how you change the culture. And we found that, really it's things like retraining people how to fail. Right? Our culture in the past was you never fail. But now it's okay to fail. Because we want you to fail, because we want you to learn, we want you to pivot. And this journey we're on is 100 steps, and we are only at step 5. So we've got a long, long, long way to go. So that was key. It was really getting people to move quickly, at speed. Again, not a natural for a lot of us. So how do you get your organization to move with speed? And how do you empower people to make sure that they can make the decisions they need to make to get things done quickly? Otherwise, they're going to be left behind. So, major cultural differences to a company like we, and everybody's going to go through the same. Okay? We're not alone here. You're all going to face this. It's all difficult. I'd say that the most important thing, it starts at the top. Right? I mean, our CEO is 100% committed to this. We are 100% committed as a leadership team. And if you don't have that, you're not going to make this thing work, right? So a lot of people ask, well, what do we do to get started? So look, some of these steps might be helpful for you. So this is the kind of what we learned. All right? Whoop, I'll get it right one day. Look, firstly, baseline what you have. Okay, simple. It's daunting to think about, oh, where do I start? But just what do you have? What do you have? What are you good at? What are you really, really, really good at? That's a really, really good place to start. That's a really good place to start. The other good place to start is either to think about how you're going to get Ubered or look at it through the eyes of your customer. Okay, so baseline it. Understand where your customer's going, right? It's amazing. Customer speed sometimes is way faster than you, okay, because they get more benefit out of it. So, understand the customer is so, so important in this equation. Second thing, build a vision and a roadmap, right? Sounds easy, but it's not, because you've really got to get buy-in along the way. And this is where your leadership team has got to be all in. They've got to be all in with you, because they're going to drag the rest of the organization with you as you kind of take them through this journey together. So making sure you have a roadmap and milestones along the way is so, so important. Making sure you get some quick wins. We did this, okay? We kind of like, okay, what should the first project be? Well, let's digitize the entire supply chain of the company. The wrong thing to do, okay? You want something quick, you want something easy, you want something that the organization sees as real, and your customers see real. Okay, so what's something simple to get going, to demonstrate that this is real and actually you can do it. Okay? And the fourth thing is, is don't be scared of partnering, right? This was a tough thing for us as a company, because we didn't do partnerships before, right? But we realized pretty early on that we're going to have to partner with people we never partnered in our life before, and we're going to have to develop the ecosystem together here. So we actually have over 260 partners already. We're going to have a lot more, right, as time goes on. So this is something which I think is important to think through, because you can't do it yourself, we can't do it ourselves, and we're better as a team together and an industry to kind of get together to figure out how we do that. Okay? So, as you you think about where you're at the moment as a business, the question I'd have to you is, are you paranoid about the digital side? Are you paranoid? Okay, you should be. But the good news is, you are actually in the best place to do it. Right? The Amazons, the Googles, they don't know what you do necessarily. Right? And the same thing goes actually geographically. Silicon Valley doesn't have to have all the answers here. Spain can do it, France can do it, Germany can do it. Okay? We just have to lead. So you're in the best place to do it. So, my hope is that you go away with conferences like this where we get together, but you go away with the confidence to realize that your organization can do this and make a difference and not get disintermediated along the way. Okay, so we're lucky. We've just started this. So now's the time to do it, so I wouldn't leave it too late. So with that, I hope you have